Selling your business may be one of the most important personal and financial events of your lifetime. Careful planning is required as the decisions you make or fail to make can impact the attractiveness of your company to prospective buyers and limit your ability to maximize on your investment and valuable tax saving. Are you ready? Is your company ready? To answer this, you need to see the whole picture. We are a unique collaboration of 4 leading global advisors. Working together, we can help you put all the pieces in place and make sure nothing is overlooked. We are Exit Plus.
Hello, I'm Shahnaz Nasser with Dentons. Joining from Washington is Chris O.P. at Bernstein Private Wealth Management. From Amsterdam is Mark Carmichael at STS Capital Partners. From New York is Eric Gelb at PKF O'Connor Davis. And from London, Chris Rose at Dentons. Thanks for joining us. Chris O.P., when considering a sale, what role does one's personal values play?
It might sound a little counterintuitive to imagine, but from our perspective, a hard-learned lesson has been that one's personal values are absolutely fundamental to getting this process right. Trying to figure out what it is that's driving you to a transaction today and ultimately what will shape your life in the future, both from a time perspective, but also what to do with the wealth that you may well accumulate in the process is key. And one of the things we've observed is that families don't necessarily share the same priorities, even though there may be an assumption that it's very much a homogenous view as to what the future holds. So we take a step-by-step approach to firstly identifying how much financial capital does an individual and their family need to ultimately meet their most basic goals in the years ahead, their lifetime spending needs. In reality, particularly in today's M&A market, we're seeing individuals realize far more capital than simply those basic needs. And there, of course, the question becomes, well, to what end? What meaning does this capital have to me? And how can I actually inform myself about that? Now, this might be charitable intentions. It might be your next business venture. It might be simply providing for those around you or enhancing your lifestyle further. That's all a conversation that should take place, I think, not just with yourself and your most closest family members, but perhaps some other trusted partners that may exist in your community. One real life example that we've enjoyed watching over the last few years has been the power of bringing clients who may not know each other prior to the conversation, bringing those people together and enabling them to benefit actually from the anonymity that comes with having candid conversations with folks who are also going through the pre-transaction or immediate post-transaction process. We actually have retreats enabling clients to come together and share those issues that are most front of mind. And I think the candor and the refreshing honesty that comes from that is really powerful and enables people to take the next step in their process with a much greater understanding of what's important to them, and also perhaps the hard lessons learned by others that they've recently got to know.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. And I think, for most sellers, they haven't sold a business before, right? I mean, some have, but most, it's a first-time experience, and it's such an important and meaningful one at the personal level. And so they often have a number of questions around the topic that, it has to do with how do I maximize the price received for my business? And my initial response is always, what's most important to you? Is it maximizing the total consideration received or maximizing the amount of cash received at closing? Let me give you a very quick actual scenario that played out earlier this year. We were selling a business that received 7 or 8, I can't remember, offers, but the final 2 offers were, the first one was 100% cash on close, and the second one was a fixed amount payable at closing. That was a combination of cash and shares in the buyer's company, but it also had an attractive earnout mechanism that said if the business went on to achieve the seller's 24-month projections, they would pay the seller an earnout amount that, when added to the initial consideration paid on closing, was around 35% higher than the total consideration that the 100% cash on close bid was. And so when you're setting your priorities and looking at what's important to you, give some thought as to what's most important as it relates to that. For example, that scenario, is it 100% cash on close? That means you get to leave the business, let's say, and get on with your life's other objectives or ambitions or goals or otherwise. Or do we have an element of deferred payment, such as the earnout that I just mentioned, which can increase the total consideration that you receive, but may also mean that you're tied in with the business post-transaction during that earnout period? It's a personal decision. There's no right or wrong. It's definitely a personal decision in any event, but it's one that should be considered at the outset.
Totally agree with that, Mark. Within that, I think figuring out the owner's priorities is essential. Also, though, the B word comes into play, which would be budgeting and forecasting. So what we see for most of the ultra high net worth and family office clients we work with and business owners, that the main uses of funds are lifestyle, philanthropy, estimated taxes, and investments, which could be capital calls for private equity or direct investments. So we think that once you sell that business, that where you're getting your income from is going to change. So getting a realistic view and understanding of how you spend your money and what's your priorities could drive some of those things. Now we see a lot of the dynamics, whether the selling shareholders stay with the new business. It's not only economically driven to raise, maybe they have a stake, a stub period or a bonus, like you were saying, Mark, an earnout. But some of these things, knowing what's the pre-tax cash flow you need, and then the after-tax, which Chris Opie was talking about, really, really important. And that could help you come to a meeting of the minds, whether that's picking the right buyer for your company or how to proceed post-closing and sale.
And certainly for some sellers, it's not all about the money. You have loyalties and obligations in many instances to your employees, to your customers and suppliers who are there with you as you built your business. And I know many a seller who has taken less in order to ensure continuity with employees and management. And that may dictate the type of buyer you're talking to, a strategic versus a financial buyer. There may be more upheaval potentially with strategic as they try to right size operations. Similarly with certain private equity. Secondly, I think you got to take other constituencies into account when making your decisions. It may not entirely be yours. Chris Opie alluded before to family decisions. Getting your family aligned prior to a sale is very important. Or if you have other shareholders, what is your ability to drag them along in a sale? These are all circumstances that need to be taken into account really before you begin your exit process.
Great. Thanks so much, Chris. So Mark, what do you think are the 3 takeaways from this session?
The 3 key takeaways. I think where do your priorities rest as they relate to the consideration received for the business? Do you take the cash and walk away, or do you potentially remain involved with the business during a post-closing period to maximize the total consideration received? I think that selling is a very personal decision. There are many stakeholders, to Chris's point, which you may want to consider in your decision-making process, including your spouse, your kids, your employees, your customers, suppliers, the community in which your business operates, are all valid points. I think I'm going to struggle off the top of my head to think of the third one right now, Shanaz, but I think those 2 key takeaways, are going to give further advice to would-be sellers to ensure a well-considered and balanced approach when they sell their business.
Thanks for watching, and thank you, everybody. See you on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
How exit ready are you and your business? Find out using our free exit readiness assessment. Simply complete our confidential online survey, which should take you no more than 10 minutes, and we'll prepare and send you your personalized report together with your readiness score. Visit www.dentonsexitplus.com for more information.